talk about street art, and the irony is that there are people that collect certain spray cans. You know, that there is a particular color, Krylon green, that if you have one of these cans, they're worth like $500, $600, $700. And the people collecting them, of course, aren't people that do street art. You know, they're like art students that want a piece of this art form that they have respect for. And the people who are using them use them because they were the cheapest paint that they could find. And that these colors, these garish colors that became such a omnipresent part of these murals, and even just the quick tags that were all over subways, originally actually in Providence, Rhode Island, and then it started to go down both towards DC and then over towards New York, and then it started to go up into Canada, that the trains started getting covered in the tags, and it went from being a hear my plight kind of thing, like the graffiti that goes back to World War II, and Kilroy was here, where people were writing things on the sides of objects as a form of protest. And so graffiti art started as a form of protest, and it became a local voice for people who felt disenfranchised. And so they started to vandalize objects that they felt represented their oppression. And then it became something a little bit different, where there were people that were going into other people's neighborhoods and using it as a kind of battle cry. It became an artwork of gangs. And now what you've got, instead of it being either politically motivated or hear our cry, it's look at me. And worse, it's an ego thing, not from people who are oppressed, but from middle class and upper class art school kids. And so am I impressed when I drive down the street and see in broad daylight a crew full of people working on a very colorful mural as police cars drive by and pay them no mind? You know, I don't know that there's much art in that. And at the same time, you know, it's like you see things get wheat pasted a week before that same person's show goes into a gallery. And of course, once you take the art off the street and put it in a gallery, it's not street art. So you can have street artists who show gallery work, and certainly we show people like Von Saro, and we show people like Nathan Oda, who was originally a street artist under the tag of Coos, and he still works with Risk, who's a very respected street artist. But if it's created for a gallery, it's not street art. If it's to me at least, and I think that, you know, people are placing a lot of fiscal importance on the works of second and third wave, you know, spray can guys. And I think that unless there's something deeper there, unless there's a political message or a particular current relevancy, if it captures a moment, then there'll be some life to it. And that as people collect it, they'll see it as a very important piece. Certainly Shepard Fairey's portrait of Barack Obama, some people think, helped elect a president. That piece will forever be an important painting. The fact that it wasn't his original image and that he grabbed it from a photograph that somebody else took, that plays into the finance of it, but it doesn't play into the importance of it. And it will remain an important piece. Does whatever quote-unquote street artist gallery show on Washington Boulevard, does that mean anything? I mean, in 10 years, is anybody going to care? Are they going to look at it as just this weird movement that happened in the corners of the pop surrealist movement? If the art is well painted, maybe. If it's a relevant piece of history, possibly. But I just don't see much of that. And I just think that, you know, that they kind of rushed to judgment on it and said, hey, this is street art and this is a hip new thing. And I think that what happened is it encouraged a lot of people to go out and start kind of stroking their own egos. But I think that there's also a positive thing to that. And I think that when you have a lot of people out there doing things, then kids, young kids, and then maybe even kids a little bit older and even young adults see this bad art and they think, I can do better than that, and I want to learn how to do better than that. And so they're going to want to go and get better illustration skills. And it will cause, in its own way, a return to really good illustration art. So I can't really be mad at it, because I think that bad art makes good art happen. If you go to Brazil and you look at Brazilian street art, that's real street art. That's political. That's like This is our plight. We live here. We're drawing attention to the conditions of the politics of life in the streets. That has some currency to me. That has some real value to me. And there are people who collect that type of thing. And I'm a little maybe conflicted about the collecting of that type of thing, because to me it seems like you're collecting someone's misery. And I don't feel okay about that. But I believe in the validity of the art form as a form of protest.